First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who are teaching this truth and sincerity. Ba'Shem Rakah Kadash. As we are looking at end times prophecy here, and so here's President Macron says that the recent U.S.-led airstrikes on Syria were for the honor of international community. Airstrikes for honor. You mean more like airstrikes for ISIS, because that's what the game plan is to move ISIS in, because that's who the Saudi troops are, in which I'm going to read that in a minute. Alex Jones asks, should we impeach Donald Trump? Well, like as if they could impeach Barack Obama. So, obviously, we're in a place. Oh, yeah, and that's another thing. This has been exposed. You know, Bitcoin, we had already stated that's the reserve currency, that's really the microchip. Of course, Chris Green's going to push you to use Bitcoin because, of course, you know, he's still an Edomite, even though he brings you a lot of truth. Saudi Arabia has troops in Syria. It's called ISIS. Saudi Arabia claims it's open to sending troops to Syria. In other words, sending the terrorists back in, which the United States protects the terrorists. So, again, you know, and this was InfoWars Live. Alex Jones, it is time to impeach Trump. Well, here's some more. Breaking in a ceremony at a U.S. base. ISIS leader al-Baghdadi, who's alive or dead status, has been debated. President Donald Trump, with ISIS' highest honor, the Medal of Slavery Award, in recognition of Trump's services in making the United States military the air arm of ISIS in Syria. So you can see that right there. You know, well, I think everybody knows that America is the terrorist. You know, has been the terrorist for a long time. A fairly simple message for Macron and all that. Yeah, and here's more. Hands off Syria. Stop bombing in Syria. Iran switches to euro for its foreign transactions, so they're no longer going to be trading with the U.S. dollar. And here's another tweet. These health professionals worked at Duma Hospital for years under the Army of Islam rule. They stayed on when the Syrian Arab Army reclaimed the city. Now they are abused by Western media as Assad stooges for saying there was no chemical weapon attack in Syria. And you know this thing's going to escalate. Of course, you know, we know that the United States are the terrorists. They support the terrorists. And that's what they mean when they say that Saudi Arabia is going to be sending troops into Syria. They're called ISIS. Russia may block U.S. airlines from crossing its territory. So there you go. If the United States thinks that they can fly over Russia, that shit may get shot down. Remember the Korean airliner? They crossed over to Russian space, and that shit got shot down? Well, expect more shit like that to happen. You know, and I can't wait for this fuckhole America to actually feel some of this. The guys helped the U.S. kill 9,000 civilians in Raqqa. Now watch him wave his hands around like a maniac while talking about bombing Syria for the honor of Europe. And that was coming from Syrian Girl. And here's another one. Sarah Abdullah. From the Citadel of Syria liberated Aleppo today, Syrians happily celebrate their homeland's Independence Day. So they have their own Independence Day, which that's an actual celebration. America, yeah, we have no business whatsoever celebrating their bullshit. And this is from the terrorist. Syrian general at Damascus to respond to U.S.-led strikes by attacking aggressors' bases in Syria. So in other words, United States, it's time to fucking get your asses fucking kicked. That's why Russia had brought their military on them ships, because they're getting ready to get the United States out of there. You know, and here's another tweet. Yahweh is with Syria. Syria will never fail. Well, actually, he's against all these nations. That's why they're gathered together in Syria, which is the valley of Yahweh's judgment. Greece, pro-Syria, anti-U.S., UK, France demonstrators tried to topple Truman's statue in Athens. Yeah, that's pretty cool. You know. California has 8 of 10 most polluted American cities. Well, yeah, of course, because they're chemtrailing us to death, especially up here in Reading. Oh, yeah, here's another one. Neo-Nazi organizer unmasked as U.S. Marine. So who's behind the Nazis? Who's behind all this? And by the way, these newer neo-Nazis are not the Nazis that were in former Germany. They just like to lay claim to it. But a prominent neo-Nazi who helped plan and organize last year's fatal Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, has been exposed as U.S. Marine. So who's the terrorist? Esau, the so-called white man. But they don't want to even deal with that. ISIS warns Trump. Oh yeah, this is propaganda shit. Chilling ISIS poster shows Trump as a prisoner. Yeah, this is propaganda shit, as if you believe that ISIS is against America. They're all for America. Conflict looming between Greece and Turkey over the oil Emia islets, so in other words, they are fighting over the oil there. Athens, Greece, an honest answer to Ankara is given by Athens regarding Ema and the provocative announcement by Turkish foreign minister. So tensions are building up between Greece and Turkey. There was no chemical weapon attack in Douma. 13 health workers, including 8 doctors and 3 nurses, tell in detail what happened. The U.S. UK funded White Helmets staged the video. Thank you for the TV that shows that. To splash the civilians with water and let them use spray in a wrong way. And again, this was just to make it look like. And of course we have this here. And this video you can actually find on YouTube. In a heated debate, I rose to the spokesman of the so-called coalition opposition in Raqqa for applauding the American aggression against Syria. And again, you can see the difference in flags there. Of course, we know that the flag on the left is the terrorist flag, a.k.a. Free Syrian Army, which is really a guise for Al-Qaeda. Macron faces spreading student protest rally strikes. So in other words, they're getting heat for what they had done. Trump announces plan to build an Arab army in the Middle East trained by United States soldiers that can handle the region and provide stability as the country is returned. Yeah, right. We know that that's ISIS. That's what their game plan is. So expect more false flags, as we've been telling you here, and well, I think that now I can get you some scriptures. I just read some of the bigger highlighted articles. So we're actually now I can just pull out some articles or some scriptures here, and I'm just going to continue from where I read when I was here in the city proclaiming this truth. Hold on a second. Continuing on from Ezekiel chapter 38, and I'm going to reread a couple scriptures and then go further here. Be thou prepared, and this is verse 7, chapter 38. Be thou prepared and prepare thyself, thou, and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be a guard unto them. That's why you're seeing the missile defense systems way better. And I couldn't help but notice that also in WWE SmackDown last night, while the wrestlers were fighting, they couldn't help but mention missile failure. So they actually are. They know that they have lost, in being the stronghold, the hammer of the whole earth. So they are even projecting that in just commentaries between wrestlers wrestling last night on SmackDown. And many days thou shalt be visited. And how is Edom being visited? Well, you're seeing more and more, a.k.a. UFOs, showing up, which we know them as the chariots. We're seeing them show up all around the world. Remember that thing in Russia a few years ago where, the whole place was rocked because of what it seemed like a meteor landing? Yeah, that came from them ships, In the latter years, thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, just talk about Esau, Edom, and is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, because they came against us when they took over, Gad and all the other tribes of the northern kingdom, which have been always waste, but is brought forth out of the nations, and they can dwell safely, all of them. Yeah, and it's talking about this place, America, Babylon the Great. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land. And cloud is another metaphor for the flying roll, if you will, the main ship. Zechariah described it as the flying roll. So this ship is going to cover the entire land. Thou and all thy bands, and many people with thee. This is when he starts beaming up his people. Thus saith Yahweh, it shall come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. Let's talk about Russia and, its allies, invading America pretty much to overthrow this place. I will go to them that are rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates, talk about America, to take a spoil and to take a prey, to turn thy hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and the people that are gathered out of the nations which have gotten cattle and goods that dwell in the midst of the land. So this is when Russia finally does do something, and a lot of people think that it's just going to be an EMP and then 1 hour America destroyed, but they're going to do a lot before that as well. Sheba and Dedan, the merchants of Tarshish, and all the young lions, therefore shall say unto me, art thou come to take a spoil? In other words, America is going to know that, they are pretty much getting back at America for everything they've fucking done in Syria and around the world. That they're coming to loot this place, right? That's what they're asking. Hast thou gathered thy company to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, to take a great spoil? And again, this is talking about, when Putin officially, invades America. Therefore, son of man, prophesy and say unto Gog, which we can say is Putin, thus saith Yahweh, in the day that when many people of Israel dwell safely, shall thou not know it? Again, this is talking about when they eventually, the elect, the 1/3, are up there with Yahushai, are dwelling safely. And thou hast come against my people of Israel as a cloud to cover the land. It shall be in the latter days that I will bring thee against my land, and the heathen may know me when I shall be sanctified in thee, O Gog, before their eyes. And it's, this is also talking about the Israeli state, which are the Edomites, Thus saith Yahweh, art thou he of whom I have spoken in old time by my servants, the prophets of Yashalah, which prophesied in those days, many years, that I would bring thee against them? And it shall come to pass that at the same time when Gog shall come against the land, which this is talking about Israeli state, saith Yahweh, that my fear shall come in my face. Doesn't mean that he's protecting Amalek. It just means that, because here's the main part. This is verse 19. For in my jealousy and the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel. Yeah, that's when these Amalekites start feeling it. So that the fish of the sea and the fowls of the heaven and the breasts of the field and all the creeping things that creep on the earth and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence. This is when Yahushua officially comes back. And the mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. And I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, saith Yahweh. Every man's sword shall be against his brother, a.k.a. World War III. And I will plead against him with the pestilence and with my blood, and I will rain upon him, and upon his bands, and upon many people that are with him, an overflowing rain, and great hailstones, fire, and brimstone. This is talking about the nuclear war, by the way. Thus will I magnify myself and sanctify myself. I will be known in the eyes of many nations, and they shall know that I am the Lord. So I hope this has been edifying. Shalom.